Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. Happy Valentine's Day. How is everyone doing out there this morning?
Hey,
Happy
how
Woohoo!
about
Valentine's
you? Happy
Day.
Valentine's Day.
All right. Boy, what a lively group as we always have. Of course, it's Valentine's Day, so it must be February 14th. Welcome, everyone. We're going to get rolling right away. For those that are new to this is Voices of HealthPointe, and this is where basically like-minded individuals all focusing on HealthPointe either as coaches, clients, prospective clients. We get together for 1 hour from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to talk about all things health and wellness related. And we just have a lot of fun. For those that aren't able to or choose not to join us live and be part of the vibrant discussion, that's fine. These episodes are uploaded onto the YouTube channel called Voices of HealthPointe. You can catch all the episodes there. And I think we're, well over 100 episodes, 120, 130 episodes on there. So a lot of information there if you care to dig into that a bit. The way we often do things is we have some known docket items. These are some topics that people have kind of queued up and they want to talk about. And so we go through those and then we kind of get into some round robin discussion and so forth. And that's really the fun really happens. So with that said, I often start off with my docket item. And as is typical, I do have a docket item. My docket item is called The Protégé Effect and the Power of Becoming an Encourager. And then we have Deb Llewellyn, who graciously punted her docket item to this week because last week there was so much discussion around the topic that we covered last week on mental health and depression. But thank you, Deb. You're going to have your docket item called Experts Commentary on GLP1s and the relationship to the HealthPointe program. So we are really looking forward to Deb Llewellyn's docket item as well. So with that, let's get rolling here. First, I'd like to say that the content shared here is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not intended as medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult your healthcare provider before making any changes to your health routine. Our discussions draw on wellness concepts similar to those found in the HealthPointe methodology, which we hold in high regard. The ideas presented are independently developed and do not represent or speak on behalf of the HealthPointe brand. Okay, the protege effect and the power of becoming an encourager. Most people assume that maintenance is about restraint. You complete a 6-week cycle, you experience momentum, you see measurable change, and then the quiet question emerges. How do I keep this? We tend to think that the answer is discipline. Stay focused, stay consistent, do not drift. But cognitive science suggests something more interesting. There is a well-documented psychological phenomenon known as the protege effect. Researchers have shown that when you prepare to teach or guide someone else, your own learning deepens. Your brain organizes the material more clearly. You anticipate questions. You reinforce pathways. Teaching is not simply sharing information, it is consolidation. In other words, helping someone else strengthens you. This is one of the reasons the encourager model is so powerful inside HealthPointe. Historically, the 6-week cycle was primarily a one-on-one coaching rhythm. Morning check-ins created structure. Accountability created momentum. That foundation remains. Now, however, in many cases, a client checking in uses Facebook Messenger and is in a small group that includes their coach and one or more encouragers. The only requirement to be an encourager is that you have completed the program yourself. No formal credentials, no special title, just lived experience. In other words, you have walked the talk. When you respond to a morning check-in, you are not simply offering support. You are revisiting your own early weeks. When you normalize friction in week 2 or celebrate clarity in week 4, your brain re-encodes those lessons. When you encourage daily movement or protein consistency, you strengthen your own identity around these behaviors. Maintenance is not a static state. It is an identity that needs reinforcement. The protege effect that is experienced in the encourager role provides that reinforcement. This enhancement did not emerge in isolation. We continue to learn from our HealthPointe friends and practitioners in Australia, whose growth and outcomes have been extraordinary. Thousands and thousands of people have gone through their program. There are single coaches with thousands in their organization actively engaging with HealthPointe. The Australians are deeply grateful to North America and the Network 21 for stewarding and providing the HealthPointe system. And we are equally grateful for how they have taken that system and expanded it, refined it, and implemented enhancements that have helped so many people. The Encourager model is one of those enhancements. Through direct engagement with them, we have seen how powerful it can be for both the client and the encourager. It creates community. It distributes leadership. It transforms maintenance from a private effort into a shared contribution. There is also something energizing about it. When you move from being supported to supporting, something shifts internally. You are no longer simply protecting your progress. You are embodying it. You are modeling it. You are helping someone else see what is possible. If you have access to the audios inside the Network 21 app, there is a powerful resource titled Being an Encourager Panel. The discussion is led by Katrina Boyle and includes insights from those who have lived this role at scale. It's worth listening to if you're curious about what this looks like in practice. If you are currently active in a 6-week cycle or in lifetime maintenance mode and not serving as an encourager, it may be worth exploring. Speak with your own coach first. The structure matters. Alignment matters. But consider the possibility that the most stabilizing step in your own maintenance may not be doing more for yourself. It may be helping someone else take their first steps. Sometimes the best way to keep what you have built is to help someone else build it too. Okay, that is my docket item, and we open it up for any discussion and commentary before we move on to our next docket item. So anybody?
I would just like to add to that, Eric. That was so relevant and so good. And I think that if you're going to be an encourager, I think one of the first steps is to have had an encourager. And sometimes some that are on this call maybe have not had that experience because we didn't know about encouraging a while back. And so you might have been on earlier walks in your HealthPointe. Maybe you're still on the walk and have not experienced that blessing. And so I would say, please reach out to your coach and say, I would love to have 1 or 2 encouragers. Or your coach might even reach out to you, but it's better that you reach out to them, because I think that's truly the way you're going to see the value of it is how you feel. And then you'll be so much more effective at helping other people as you encourage them, because you'll have had that experience of receiving it yourself. So that's my little 2 cents worth.
Such a great point, and I can remember, well, certainly some discussions that you and I had, Carol, where, on the surface, this encourager model seems, logical, what could be, surprising or unique about it. It kind of made sense as we heard about it. But you and I, Carol, we talked about, well, but it's something else to experience it. And that's your point that you're making there. It's something else to experience it. And this was really brought to a possibility as recently as just our last weekend conference that we had, our January weekend conference in California, where this was expanded on a bit more, certainly by Natalie Dornan. And then we were able to connect with Natalie and be added as encouragers to some folks and so forth. And so we're all experiencing this. And it's nothing that I would say, and Carol, maybe you have some insights on this, nothing that is like, whoa, that was surprising, or wow, I'm really learning this logical thing about it that I would never have known if I wasn't doing it. But it is candidly just you realize how powerful this is when you experience it and how phenomenal it is. So yeah, Carol, that's a very great point. Reach out, check with becoming an encourager, being put into an encourager model. Yeah.
And
Yeah, I think there's whenever you are entering into something you've never done before, if you're like me, and I face this on a day-to-day basis, when something's new, it's I wouldn't even say scary, but you have an anxiousness about it because you've never done it before. So as you look ahead, all you see is this blank curtain and you don't see any experience. And so sometimes you just have to have the guts to say, hey, yeah, I want an encourager because I need to learn how to be an encourager. So I want to have that experience. And that's that first step. And it can even that step can be a little bit scary. So anyway, sorry, Sharon, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry.
no, no, no. No, what I wanted to say, Jerry, would you mute yourself? Because I think I'm getting food. Okay. What I wanted to say is that being an encourager is a gift. We know that from biblical principles. So some people are natural encouragers, but you can learn to be an encourager. And that's just so important. Um, I think what we have to remember is the coach is the one who's going to guide them. And so, as an encourager, we don't want to hop in with, what'd you do yesterday? You had a banana split? I mean, you know, we, we, so we are simply there to encourage. Hey, you're right back on track. No problem. We'll get this conquered. And so you can learn how to be an encourager. But I think we need to remember that encouragers are not coaches. They have a different role from the one coach. And so I just wanted to offer that.
Wow, that is so important to note. Thank you, Sharon, for making that clear. There's a number of things I'm sure a number of us can expand on that, but well, I'll just say, yeah, it's and this should give an encourager some comfort on this too, because it's if somebody's never been an encourager, there might be some shyness, some intrepidation about that. And because you're going into a group, there's going to be a coach and you may be one encourager, but there might be others. You don't feel that pressure that you have, first of all, to Sharon's point, to coach this person. And second of all, that you need to respond to every check-in that the client is doing. You are there kind of hovering in the side view and doing what the title suggests, encouraging. Just when that client just hears an additional voice, and I don't mean that literally because you typically are texting it over, but just says, "Hey, great job! Way to lean into that process." Loose, encouraging things. You're not going in and saying, "Hey fella, what's your A1C today?" you're not doing that, and you're not coming in there and getting into the direct coaching, and that should give you comfort that you don't need to know that level. You are just kind of cheerleading and encouraging and providing that. And we've talked about this before, right? The power of the pack, the power of the community, the power of the pack. Where this
No, I can't get it.
client is
Well,
this
yeah,
client is coming in to an environment, and somebody's got a hot mic there. Please watch your mic. These people are coming into a community and just seeing something from you, seeing encouraging from one or two or more encouragers, along with the coaching from their coach, is what it's all about. Thank you, Sharon.
One other thing is as the recipient of an encourager, I want to help folks, especially folks that have been with the HealthPointe program, and we hadn't done that before we learned about it, is the transparency from the recipient. So let's say you're on the HealthPointe program. I'm kind of going back to step one. You're in the program, and now you're starting to use the accountability form, which some of you hadn't previously because we didn't have it. And oh my gosh, you talk about
20 seconds per mile. Split
Okay.
you talk about the value of the accountability form and those three L's on the bottom. You will realize that as you start to fill that form out, that you are literally developing your own personal journey tabloid, and because those are saved day after day, and you can go back and see how far you've come. So on the accountability form, but also when you bring in, you invite an encourager in, they are going to see some of that transparency. They're going to see your statistics, your weight, and what what your goals are. So it's a transparency thing, and I think for those of us that are bringing new people on and we're explaining it, it'll be a lot easier than for those of us that have been on the program previously, and now we're interjecting this where we didn't have it before. It was all quite secretive. Many of you have shared lots of stuff, but some of you haven't. And so you have that degree of transparency. But I think that when we bring a new person in, the spin and the positivity we put on the value
Been
of an
coming in and out. Now
encourager.
they're talking about the accountability
Hold on.
form that I was going to
Let me
modify
let me
and
do
saying
a
how
mute all,
important it is to
Carol, and
use it.
then
So
Okay.
I guess I
you're
won't be
going to have
modifying
to
it.
let's I'm doing a mute all. Okay, so Carol, you will need to, anybody that speaks now will need to unmute. I just did a mute all. Somebody had a hot mic going there.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, when you're talking to a brand new person, and I remember this, and I heard it again the other day, by I think it was Bernadette on that audio, the drop in the Network 21 drop. And if you haven't listened to that, it's really very good. But she said that when a person says, "Well, I only want you as my coach. I don't want anybody else," Bernadette stops right there and she says, "Well, if you think that I'm going to be the only person on your team, then you're in the wrong program." And she comes, and we can do it, of course, in any degree of class that we want to put it at. You don't want to throw it in a person's face. But on the other hand, you can get that point across that what you're going to have, the beautiful part about this is you're going to have a team. And on that team is going to be one, maybe even two coaches. Sometimes one of your encouragers has been coaching for a long time and might throw some coaching tips in there too and work in conjunction here and there. But you're going to have that, but then you're going to have encouragers. And these are people that are going to be walking along with you that have been through all the same things and are probably going through the same things you're going through right now. And you'll find that probably one of the most valuable things and most unique things about the HealthPointe program. When you put it in those terms, all the benefits that they're going to get from it, then it doesn't freak them out. And so I think we as coaches need to really know how to be able to present that to that new person also.
Yeah, and let me just,
Very
I
good.
think, Carol, that was great. Let me just mention too, Sharon, I mean, the principle of encouragement is something that has forever been around, as Sharon mentioned, the biblical principle, and we certainly see it that way. And were it not for encouragement, we wouldn't be on this program this morning. We wouldn't be on this walk because we're sort of we've been involved with the Amway business for decades now, and when we were first getting started, and then even as we progressed along the way, we can think of people that had it not been for something they said, something they did, and their gift of encouragement to us, then we wouldn't be here today. And we specifically now with the HealthPointe program, we have that same principle that we're able to use in developing our health program.
Absolutely. Yeah. This principle of being an encourager is, I think, to your point, Jerry, I mean, this has just been an enduring principle over the ages. I mean, so applicable to so many arenas of life and experiences, and the value of it. So, and that gives great comfort, because this is not some newfangled, thing that's just been kind of like, you know, implemented. This is an enduring principle. We often say the tactics of this business can change, but the principles, the foundations remain the same. And that encouragement, as you say, Jerry, going back for decades, certainly in the Amway model, this is all an enduring principle. The biblical insights on it and so forth. It's an enduring principle, and that gives great comfort to implementing and utilizing it. So thank you. Thank you very much, Jerry.
I'd like to jump in here real quick. I also want to give credit to, if you go back to the Dynamic Living series and the Circle A ranch that Skip Ross always had, and for people that aren't familiar with that, check with your coach. But my sons, who are in their 40s now, went to that camp every year that they were eligible. So I think that was about 8 years running for each of them. And Skip didn't give out too many awards. He gave out a all-around dynamic living leader who best demonstrated that. But one of the ones they would always give every year was the Encourager Award. I think there were only 3 awards. One was, I don't know, they even stopped recognizing athletic ability because it wasn't important to Skip. But the Encourager Award, and I know because, bless his heart, my son's got a few of those. So we remind them, we bring it out and set their Encourager trophy when things are getting when they were living at home, got a little negative. We'd go, okay, who's going to be the encourager here? So I just think that, that was an important thing even then. And I remember that. And as soon as it came up here as part of HealthPointe, I go, well, everything that goes around comes around in Network 21, because the principles just don't change. So thought I'd just add that.
Love that, Laurel. Thank you for bringing that up and speaking about Skip Ross. And yes, for those that are on here that might not be aware of this, and Laurel alluded to this, check with your coach, check with who you're working with to see if you might be able to get access or information on that Dynamic Living series. This is a series. This is a standalone, amazing product. I'm sure we all can think of people that have listened to that series and just it transformed their life in just that Dynamic Living series alone. And so great to bring that up. And I did not know that about the Skip Ross Circle A Ranch camp, that they had this limited amount of awards and really refined it down to, and a high focus on the encourager. Boy, if that doesn't emphasize the point, if Skip Ross chose, Skip Ross has passed on, but his teachings and lessons live on, and that's part of his legacy. And I did not know that, but if Skip Ross felt it should be emphasized like that and be one of the few trophies, then no better endorsement of it than that. That's for sure.
The Australians, worldwide, are super, super big proponents of the Dynamic Living series, all the way to Mitch Sala, who says that it transformed his life at a very early age. And so I did not know that either. And I have to think that maybe that word encourager actually was born out of the Dynamic Living series, because I'm sure that the Australians that put this together, this whole intensive program, this whole coaching program, every one of them have that Skip Ross Dynamic Living seminar. So it's interesting that it ties back to that, because I was not aware of that award either.
I don't think that I can't remember because I haven't listened to it in a while, but I don't know that the encourager as a role was ever mentioned in the dynamic living series that we know, the book, the audios. But there certainly were a lot of international kids. I know both Derek and Clint had kids from Australia and New Zealand there at the camp with them. So it wouldn't take much for that to go back home to those different countries from that they came from, the whole idea of encourager, because it was a sought after. I mean, kids wanted to get an award as kids would want to, but those two emphasized, the person who best represented the dynamic living principles was the big award, and then encourager was the other award. I can't remember if there was anything else, maybe teamwork, but it was one or two or three at the most.
Hey, Eric,
Yes.
it's your orange dot girl. So, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Speaking about Skip Ross as my job, as being the orange dot girl, especially for new people who haven't had a chance to go through the whole program yet. Orange dot 33 in our daily messages, which is day 28 of your first cycle, is titled A Kick in the Wrist, and that is by Skip Ross. So everybody, luckily, who was not fortunate enough to get to meet him before can at least experience his extreme knowledge within our HealthPointe program with Orange dot 33. So had to let you know that one.
Thank you. Orange Dot Girl.
Thank you, Kathy, for that. Skip and Susan were our personal mentors. And so we knew them on a very personal basis. And when we would counsel with them, Hank and I often would comment, Skip never said, and I've got to remember this, what you need to do is, or what I would suggest is giving suggestions. He would always say something like, I remember back when I was at a blah, blah, blah situation correlated with it. And one of the things that when I took myself into the closet or into the bathroom mirror, what I found was that this is something that I needed to work on. And when I worked on that, I found that my situation changed. So what he was doing, and he's got an audio on this too, where he says, this is my talk to me. If you want to listen in, you can listen in. And that was always a wonderful trait of Skip's, is he never zeroed in on what you need to do. He always zeroed in on what he found that he needed to do in a situation similar to that and how it played out. And I thought that was marvelous counsel, because we never left feeling like we had a task that was pointed to us. It was always an avenue that we might want to uncover within us, that Skip uncovered within him. And it was very non-invasive, and it was great counsel.
So much in that. And thank you, Carol. As many of you know, I have gone through some credentialing and specifically board certification in health and wellness coaching. And there is something that is hit on time and time and time again, because it's necessary. And that is that when somebody is, in this case, being trained to be a coach, or we think, if you stop somebody on the street and you say, okay, what's a coach do? They would think that the answer would be, you fix it. You fix people. And I will tell you, in the training that I received time and time again, they implored, tested, drilled on escaping the fix it mindset. People, generally, all of us, again, this is us, a talk to myself, we resist somebody telling us what to do. And this coach word seems to suggest that what you do is you know something, somebody else, the client, doesn't know something. You need to tell them what to do. You need to fix it. And they call it the fix it complex. It's got to be very careful with that. I love, Carol, what you're saying in terms of Skip. You said you left feeling better about yourself.
Yeah.
That rarely happens if somebody just spent the time telling you what to do and how to fix it. It usually comes, we generally either know how to fix ourselves or we know how to gain access to information and resources on how to fix ourselves. What we need is to be built up. We need to be just have somebody have some presence with us, give us some space and some encouragement and some valid recognition of what we are doing right. And so and then you leave like you did, Carol, and you felt, okay, I feel good about myself and I'm going to figure out what to do to fix. I know how to fix this, but now I've got wind beneath my wings. Now I feel stronger to do that. I don't feel beat down by somebody that was quote unquote coaching me, squishing me into the ground. I feel light. I feel more confident. I feel I have more self-respect. I feel better about myself. And wow, to know that you and Hank experienced that directly with Skip and Susan Ross is so amazing. David, I see that you're unmuted, and I'm assuming you want to chime in here, but please do if you want to.
I was just going to share that our foundation goes all the way back to the beginning of encouragement, and that was Rich DeVos's job. If you ever have a chance, sometimes Network 21 app will have some Rich DeVos audios available. But if you ever listen to his talk, Try or Cry, or he did one on living an ethical life where he spoke to high school kids. He was just, when you get done listening to him, your hair is on fire. You just believe in yourself. He just had a way of making you feel really, really good. And so, as I understand it, Van Andel was like Jim Dornan. Had three white mice up there, but he was just brilliant, especially on predicting the future trends. But Rich DeVos was the encourager, the Nancy Dornan part of Amway. And so anyways, we have going all the way back to the beginning. Encouragement is just a big part. If you're running, it's not a job. It's like more like a church. And so you can't make anybody do anything. So you guide them through encouragement.
Wow. So glad you unmuted and chimed in on that. And you're right. Goes all the way back to Rich DeVos. And I know there's a lot of people in here that probably have heard his audios and maybe have also spoken with him directly. And Rich DeVos is self-described as just an encourager. He's an encourager. He was a cheerleader, and helping people feel as people should feel, better about themselves. Okay, this is valid. David, something else?
Yeah, and I'm just remembering one of Rich DeVos's stories going back to his coach when in Nutrilite. When he first got into Nutrilite, he went back to whoever his coach was, I don't know the name, and told him that he couldn't sell a double X because it was $20 a box and it was just way too expensive. And his coach, the story that Rich DeVos tells, is his coach just pulled out his sales slip. He goes, I don't know. I talked to the person at the gas station and he bought one, and I talked to the person, and he just went through his sales receipt slip of all the people who he had sold double X to. And that gave Rich DeVos the encouragement and the hope that, yeah, this is possible.
Great story. Great story. Yeah, and points to, I think that should go, we mentioned it, but again, just to reinforce it, somebody doesn't just drop into this model, never has done HealthPointe, hasn't walked the walk, hasn't experienced it and says, I'm going to be an encourager, because that would be like that person that Rich went to saying, having never moved any double X, never sold anything, but he's going to tell Rich how to do it. No, you've got to, and you're going to feel more confident about it, right? If you've done through your journey. And I don't think that there's a big risk. You know, the only way you're really going to fall into being an encourager or have a choice to do that is if you're a part of the program. But it's worth noting that this is not about pontificating or, you know, preaching and teaching from an ivory tower. This is about having experienced it. And that's all you need. That's the only credential you need is you've experienced it. You can be an encourager. You know, check with your coach, of course, on that. Well, we,
Eric, let me
yes.
say one more thing if I can. I'll make it real quick. But in Sharon mentioned the Bible, and most of us are familiar with that book. But there's a man named Joseph that was really responsible to a large extent to the growth of the early church. What we don't know him as Joseph because the apostles called him Barnabas, which means son of encouragement. And we all need to be Barnases, that we need to encourage one another. And that's what's built the HealthPointe program and the Amway business and lots of other things.
Wow. Jerry, I've heard Nancy Dornan comment that if she ever wants to be called anything, it's to be called Barnabas. Is that something like that? Am I on track on that?
Yes, that's right. It just means son of encouragement is what the Bible says. And I think it's in Acts 4 someplace.
Wow. Again, what a enduring principle, important principle, for sure. Well, thank you on that, Jerry. And so we are going to move to our next docket item because we want to make sure that we get Deb Llewellyn in, who again, graciously last week, as we all got so rolling on the topic when she was called upon for her docket item, she chimed in and said, you know what, let me delay this and do it maybe on a future episodes. But we want to bring you up, Deb, if you are there and would like to unmute and do your docket item.
Thank you very much, Eric. And yes, I have a couple of different articles, and I'll be quick. And I'll start off by saying that in the beginning, I viewed HealthPointe and GLP1 medications as competitors in the same way you would view Weight Watchers and Nutrisystem. And over the course of the months and all the articles and things that I've read, I now perceive that people that are taking GLP medications could have a symbiotic relationship if they followed HealthPointe. And the articles that I'm going to share will help you see why I've changed my perspective. The first one, experts explain important health issues related to the medications. During February, National Heart Awareness Month, it's important to note that GLP-1 drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy are surging at historic levels. Nearly 12% of U.S. adults now report using the medication for weight loss, and as prices for the medications continue to decrease, that percentage is expected to increase. But as millions shed pounds at record speed, physicians are sounding the alarms about lesser reported consequences. It goes on to talk about these two doctors, a rheumatologist, Dr. Adam Kreitenberg, and an interventional cardiologist, Dr. Heather Schrankman, who they say that they believe that the fast and never before seen weight loss approach carries certain health and nutritional concerns. So they start off with bone density. Dr. Kreitenberg notes that supporting bone density, which can be impacted by rapid weight loss, is critical, especially for older adults and postmenopausal women. He adds that providing bone-building nutrients help offset the effects of reduced appetite with GLP-1 use. And he's actually developing a line of vitamins. Well, we already have them. The next area was heart function. Response to rapid weight loss issues may be taking place in the heart because GLP-1 users often experience energy depletion from reduced nutrient intake. As such, the replenishing of essential nutrients is an important part of supporting energy and cardiovascular health during a large weight change. Dr. Schrankman notes that supporting nitric oxide production and filling nutritional gaps that come with appetite suppression can help offset fatigue and maintain heart function. And she's developing something. The last one, and I've never heard of this, it's called blood sugar whiplash. GLP-1 medications initially used for diabetics lower blood sugar, but when people stop taking the drugs, blood sugar can rebound sharply. The best way to describe this is a metabolic whiplash. For those transitioning off of GLP-1s, Dr. Schrankman stresses that supporting healthy blood sugar metabolism can ease the metabolic shift that many GLP users feel. And then I'm sure many of you heard this week, the latest one is scurvy. There's a researcher in Australia by the name of, she's a professor of nutrition, Claire Collins, spoke out. She said, once the province of pirates, scurvy is caused by a deficiency in vitamin C. The condition once accounted for up to 50% of the deaths of sailors at sea until it was discovered that providing those on long voyages with citrus fruit would prevent them from becoming ill. And then I read a couple of articles on the scurvy, and then, I saw some things that said, well, maybe that's not a true story. So I went to artificial intelligence and I asked, and this is the response that I got from AI. Key details regarding the scurvy GLP-1 link. It's indirect, not a direct cause. Experts clarify that GLP-1 medication does not directly cause scurvy. Instead, the drastic reduction in food intake, appetite suppression, can lead to a severe lack of vitamin C, which causes scurvy. Case reports. There was a British singer, Robbie Williams, publicly shared he was diagnosed with scurvy in 2024, attributing it to stopping eating while taking a medication similar to Ozempic. The risk factor. The primary issue is improper use, where users severely restrict their diet without ensuring adequate nutrient intake, leading to malnutrition. And then other deficiencies. In addition to scurvy, studies have indicated a potential risk of other nutrient deficiencies, such as thiamine, when on these drugs. And so the recommendations, according to AI, experts recommend that GLP-1 prescriptions be accompanied by nutritional guidance or mandatory dietary referrals to ensure patients receive proper vitamins while on the drug. So there's an opportunity here. That malnutrition, because the drugs aren't going away. There are some doctors, I have to take a drink of water. Pardon me, I'm going to mute myself.
Yeah, take your time, Deb. No problem. We'll let this sink in and wait for you to get your drink of water. This is awesome.
Yeah. So the thing is, I've read other articles that suggest the doctors are suggesting that people stay on this for the rest of their life. Well, what are they doing? At what cost? At what cost is this if you take this and you're not also taking some kind of nutrient? You're starving your body on the inside. You may look thin on the outside, but on the inside, your body is crying for help.
Mm-hmm. That was, thank you so much, Deb. Boy, that is a potent segment that you just did. Thank you so much. And the GLP-1 topic continues and will continue to be a big part of the conversation. And I mean, I can remember vividly going back to 2023. It's one of those kind of moments where you know where you're at when such and such an event happened. I remember we were doing a segment, Walk and Talk. I was actually riding my bike on the Rails to Trails trail that is near our cottage. And I remember making the comment, obviously not accurate back then, that this is not going to take hold because after all, people are, taking a shot in the stomach, and how many Americans want to do that? Well, boy, was I wrong on that. And so then we've moved through 2023 and 24 and 25, and here we are in 26. There's more clinical evidence out. There's more insights and experience. And Deb, what you hit on here, wow, bone density, issues, nutritional gaps writ large, blood sugar whiplash, scurvy. Say what? Scurvy, and issues with thiamine and so forth. But I love how you your ending message there and kind of your overall theme is, there is an opportunity here, which is that clearly what is being communicated here is if somebody is taking a GLP-1 and they're just dropping their intake across the board, that's basically how it occurs, supporting that with nutritional supplements. You mentioned some of the people that were cited in here are, developing their own lines. And guys, that happens. You see this trend or this celebrity or that public figure or whatever. And then, maybe their nutrition is good, maybe it's not. I will tell you, I've seen a lot that come and go. But the point is we've got a brand that is, world class and leader and has 90 decades of experience. And so to be able to come in alongside someone that is in taking a GLP-1 and to be able to offer, nutritional supplementation, it just makes so much value to that. So Deb, thank you so much. I'm so glad we got that docket item in, and anybody else on some commentary and so forth on this.
Eric? Hello,
Yes.
Eric.
Hello, Hank. Is that right?
Good morning. Yes. I'm glad that Debbie really brought out all of those great points. I want to tell you a quick personal experience. And not long ago here, Carol suggested to me, you had to contact such and such with an ex neighbor of ours that moved away several years ago. So I contacted him and said, hey, let's get together for a coffee. And we did. And I said, what's going on? And I won't mention his name. But he says, yeah, I gained a lot of weight and I'm doing this Ozempic thing. I says, you what? I said, the shot in the stomach? He said, yeah, I'm doing that and I'm losing weight. I says, oh, okay. He says, but then my Medicare, he says, not paying for it anymore. And it's costing me $600 a month. $600 a month. So he complained to his doctor about that. He says, okay, we can drop it down to 400, he said. So that's the best I can do. So we dropped it down to $400 a month to take these shots in the stomach to lose weight. And I said, how you feeling? He said, but I'm losing weight. That's all he wanted to do. He's a pretty stubborn guy, okay? he got his own mindset. I couldn't talk him into anything. He said, I'm working with my doctor. But it's still costing him $400 a month. I just want to share that with you because somebody says, oh, geez, HealthPointe, that cost me that. Are you kidding me? And here he's losing all the things that Debbie mentioned, all the nutrition. And here we are, we're adding nutrition, doesn't cost you $400 a month, So it's quite a comparison when you think about it.
Oh, Hank, that is so huge. And, we've touched on this before, the kind of the cruel irony that can occur if somebody, it sounds like what happened there is that because of his weight, they often, the metric that they use is BMI, but whatever metric that they use, because BMI has this, healthy weight, and then if you're over 25 on your BMI, then you're overweight, and then it gets into a status of labeling it as obesity. And that's often the BMI metric is what's used. And BMI, one of the faults with BMI is it doesn't take into consideration muscle mass. Now, most people don't have this problem, but just imagine if you're a big, bulky linebacker, for the NFL, and you have a lot of muscle mass, you may track high on a BMI, even though you might not have much fat. But the point is it measures muscle mass as well as fat mass. So it sounds like the journey that this individual, your friend had, your former neighbor, is they get a BMI that says you're obese, or they get a BMI that says you're overweight. Whatever that status is, it checks a box, you qualify for the insurance to cover it. The cruel irony is then they lose this weight and they lose not just fat, but they lose muscle. But their BMI now comes into you're in range. You're 25. If you're 18 to 25 on the BMI scale, you're in range. So then what can happen? Now the insurance is not going to pay for your drug because you've met the BMI status that it was intended to get to. Big problem. You haven't learned a thing, in most cases, regarding nutrition. You haven't learned a thing. You haven't done the work of behavior change. You haven't done the work and worked with a coach and had new healthy habits. You've learned nothing. And so now it's $600 a month, $400 a month. I have someone that it's $1,200 a month. They've gotten it down to $500 a month. And now you can't afford that or don't want to keep paying it, and you stop paying it. And what happens to the weight? That weight goes right back on. And do you think there's any muscle going back on from the muscle loss? No, it's almost exclusively fat. I had the privilege of having a deep conversation with a cardiologist yesterday. He has actually, I was doing he came in to kind of have me do some tests on him, and very, very fit guy. And I was just like, well, what are your health goals? And because, to look at you, you look like you're in really phenomenal shape. And he kind of alluded to, well, I'm kind of in this space. He was a little bit coy about it at first. So we went through things. I happened to ask the right question that opened up the fact that he's a leading cardiologist in the area. And boy, were we on the same page when we started talking about metabolic health. He is a huge fan of the people that we mentioned on this program quite a bit, Dr. Robert Lustig, Dr. Casey Means, all of these well-known authors, and he is frustrated out of his mind because he sees people that are, at the end stage of their metabolically poor health, and he's providing heart surgery on them. And he knows that this is something that could have been fixed further up. And his commentary on the GLP-1s, because I asked him, and he said, and this is a guy that contributes, he's been cited in the Wall Street Journal, in terms of his editorial input and so forth. He's a very credentialed guy. And he says, I see it clinically. I see so many people every day. And I'll tell you, on the GLP-1s, there's a huge overriding percentage of them that get off of it for one reason or another. And that is, he didn't have he had mixed commentary on any value of it, mostly negative. But his commentary was that here's the problem. I think he cited something like over 75% of the people that start that go off of it. And then they suffer the consequences of that. So your neighbor, Hank, is paying $400 a month now. I'd be curious if in a year, if he's still paying, because that's $5,000 a year. Is he still paying $5,000 a year? How about 5 years from now? After he's paid $25,000 in this, is he still going to keep doing that? According to this cardiologist that I met with yesterday, the answer is no. And then there's a big problem that comes from that. So sorry, that was a bit of my own rant, but it was based on some experience yesterday. And thank you for that, Hank. That's a great insight.
I think Debbie's article, oh, sorry, Carol, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Debbie's article was helpful to me. I mean, we've heard some of that stuff before, but it's always good to hear that, the whole nutrition part. And I think in my mind, I was just thinking, okay, what is our role or what is my role with someone that's using Ozempic? It's just to come alongside. That was the visual I got. Come alongside him. How's it going? What's it doing? What do you like? What do you don't like? I'm interested. And part of the reason for my journey here also is I'm trying to set an example for my family members, some who are dabbling with Ozempic or something like that, and some who are thinking about it. And so I even put that in my Christmas letter that I was losing weight from getting healthy from the inside out without drugs. And just threw that out there. So anyway, that's my visual. Anybody that's on Ozempic, I don't want to be judgmental of them because obviously it's like you said, Eric, it's not going away, but we can come alongside. So that's what I'm thinking.
Hey, Laurel. just for
Yes.
the sake of this audio and someone else may not have ever heard it, how much weight is that you have lost in the HealthPointe eating program compared to anything else?
Well, I'm over 70. I try not to look at it. I mean, I weigh myself every day, but I don't look at how much is in. I'm a little focused on my goal, but I'm over 70, I think 72 pounds now, something like that. But that's over a year. That's been since January of 2025.
But that doesn't seem like that long a time now when we look at we're already in February of 26.
I know. Well,
So great.
when you take your life at 42 days at a pop, it moves right along.
Well, great job.
Oh, thanks.
That's a great question, Pam. Thanks for asking that, because again, we lose sight that there might be new people that aren't aware of Laurel's story. And when you say that's been over a year, that's a healthy pace, right? If you said, I lost 70 pounds in a month or 2 months, we'd be like, uh-oh, that's not healthy. But 70 pounds over a year, perfect. So beautiful.
Well, all the stuff that's in the news about celebrities and their quote Ozempic face. And, I've had some people mention, oh, look at how thin your neck. And Al said, I'm going to buy you a shirt that says, this is not an Ozempic face.
It's a very healthy face. And Laurel and a number of you on this call and others have not only lost weight. I think the real key here is transformation. It's transformation of the body, mind, and spirit. And that is what you're going to take with you for the rest of your life. And so important. And, when you're talking to somebody and they say they're on Ozempic, the typical opener is if somebody looks thin, all you have to say is, wow, you've lost weight. That's awesome. What are you doing? You don't have to say they even look great if they look like something that a cat dragged in. Just obvious they lost weight. That starts the conversation. And they're usually going to say something like that because they don't feel like you're going to attack them. So they share it and say, oh, really? Tell me about that. It's the old Mitch Sal peeling the onion. The more questions you ask, oh, wow, 75 pounds, that's awesome. So how are you feeling along the journey? What are you learning along the journey? And then we'll start coming down and dirty stuff that they will share, not because you've thrown it at them, but because they have feel comfortable to share it with you. And then you can say something like, I'm curious, do you have any form of an exit plan? Because I know that this is kind of a forever shot that people take as from what I'm understanding. Do you have an exit plan that you've worked with your doctor? And then again, let them share. And it might be, oh no, I'm looking for one. Well, then that's an area. Would you be open to a cup of coffee? We could toss around a couple of ideas. I might have some things that could possibly work for you along with your journey. And these are very soft approaches to warming your way. I don't want to say warming your way in, but entering into their zone so that the bottom line is you always want to keep that. We used to call it the Gardol. I'm really showing my age now, but there was a toothpaste back in the 50s, I think, called Ipana. And Ipana had this Gardol shield. And when somebody threw a ball at somebody that was brushing the teeth with Ipana, it would just bounce right off because they had this Gardol shield. Well, people are walking around with a Gardol shield. And so what you want to do is you want to bring that shield down. And the way you do that is just by asking questions and never disagreeing with them, just saying, wow, okay, wow, how did you have, and then just get them talking. And then you can ask them, hey, do you have any exit plan? And then you can work into a coffee and either supplementation or working HealthPointe along with it, just depending on the person. But I think that sometimes if we can keep that shield down, then you can have a back-to-back or face-to-face conversation. And it might not even be at that point in time. It might even be later. But
that is such great. Boy, this whole lesson has been, as is often the case, this whole episode, I should say, is a lesson in people skills. We talked about Skip Ross. Here's Carol Zampel talking about the guard all shield, which you're right. I wasn't familiar with that one, but it is.
Shut up.
I'm just saying.
I'm an oldie but goodie.
You sure are. You sure are. And it was a really great way to visualize that, to ask questions. And again, you and Hank are just the masters on that. And that's the kind way to do it. That's it is tactful. These are sensitive things. And if your end goal is to help someone, learn the techniques that work. Nothing more frustrating than being so enthusiastic and wanting to help people, but coming in with a sledgehammer and not helping anyone because your tactics are brutish. And so it's good to learn these. And this episode has been just layered with ribbons of tact and human interaction skills and so forth. So thank you, Deb Llewellyn. Amazing docket item on GLP-1. That was phenomenal. The encourager model and the protege effect. It's about helping yourself, truly about helping yourself by helping others. Like literally, you help yourself with your maintenance and longevity on your own health by doing that. So check with your coach on that. And guys, we've done it again. We've wrapped up our hour, not lacking for content or discussion at all, but we will wrap on that note and plan to see everyone, unless there's anything else, any other parting comments or questions?
I want to give a shout out. I want to give a shout out to you, Eric. Thank you. Eric has provided us through our email, because I encourage him that I'm not necessarily always really good at going on YouTube to find Voices of HealthPointe. I forget. So he's shooting them over, but he's not only shooting over the recording, he's shooting over a really good brief summary of I don't know how you can incorporate the value of this in 2 or 3 paragraphs, but Eric has been able to do that. So I would encourage you to look for that. It might come the next day. It might come a couple days later, depending on the topic and what have you and how it ties in with everything. But thank you so much, Eric. That is really, really valuable. So shout out to you.
All right. Well, thank you, Carol. And I will get that put together for this episode. And I'm glad it's valuable and helpful. And so it'll be great helping people review it and also share it and reach out to more people. So again, everyone, happy Valentine's Day. And we will plan on seeing everyone next week, same time, same place. Until then, bye-bye.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Bye, everybody.
Happy Valentine's
Happy Valentine's Day.